Those Were the Days is filmed before a live internet audience.
Hello, TV friends, and welcome to another episode of your favorite classic TV podcast, Those Were the Days. I'm your host, Steven, and tonight we have quite the show for you. But first, this wouldn't be a complete news team without my favorite co-hosts. Who can turn the world on with her smile? It's Amy.
So we're covering the worst of the best. And if this is the one of the worst rated episodes of this show, I kind of want to see the score breakdown across gender lines. I'm just saying.
Who can take a day and suddenly make it all seem worthwhile? It's Travis.
Tonight I'll be doing the show using my news anchor voice, a smooth, rich baritone that invokes trustworthiness, honesty, and a polished diction. So sit back, listen in, and enjoy.
Hey Lou, that was pretty good, right? Right? Yeah, all right.
Well, it's you, girl, and you should know it. With each glance and every little movement you show it, it's Audie.
You know it, boyfriend. Okay, time to read some applications for the new writing position. I just hope we find someone good for writing the news. Let's see, yeah, that's good. Promising. Just graduated, huh? Maybe. Look at some more. Okay. Been writing the news for a year now. Good, good. Oh, head writing. Very good. And from a small town in the middle of... I have no idea where that is. They were the only writer and producer and anchor. Might not be the right fit here. Let's see this one. Writing for several years. Local. Even works in the building? What else could they write for? Chuckles the Clown? They think they can go from writing a clown show to writing the news? My God, that's perfect. Hey, Murray, tell Ted I found the perfect writer for him.
Yeah, we're gonna make it after all. That's right. We're talking about the legendary Mary Tyler Moore Show. And not just any Mary Tyler Moore Show. We've gone back and picked out one of the lowest rated shows of the series run. And we're going to find out if it was really as bad as the population seems to think it was. That episode is titled The Son of But Seriously, folks. Indicating, I think it's a sequel to a previous episode.
Yeah.
Why the son of part? I'm not really sure. I've got some thoughts of some other sons of they could have called it. But we'll start here. But first of all, like we usually do, I'd like to get the pulse on where we all are with the Mary Tyler Moore Show, how we feel about it, what we're walking in with in terms of baggage. Amy, where's this show land with you?
I have no baggage. I have zero baggage. This is my first episode of the Mary Tyler Moore Show, and I am in love. I'll just,
Oh my
I'll just let it out right now. No, I mean, I'm like aware, right?
Sure.
Like I'm aware. But I mean, even Family Guy did the joke about throwing the beret at that. Like, yeah, it's in the zeitgeist, but I'd never watched it before.
Sure.
Just to the light.
Right on. All right. Hey, Travis, what about you?
So I'm kind of in the same boat. I know I've seen at least a couple episodes of this. It had to have played on like Nick at Night or something like that at some point. I stumbled across it, but I didn't have like a big connection to the Mary Tyler Moore Show. It sort of existed in that same world with like the Bob Newhart Show and things like that, where I knew of them. I appreciated them when I would see references to them that I understood, but I didn't have like a huge connection to it. But I love the hell out of this. So it was fun.
Great. Audie, let's go with you.
Yeah, count me number 3 of having no connection to this show before now. Like, never watched it before. Amy said, I knew it existed. Like, you can't not know it existed if you are in the States and watching TV at any point. The one connection I have to this show, 2001, Reliant K, The Anatomy of Tongue and Cheek, the first major song on that album, Pressing On. The last line of that song is, "We're gonna make it after all."
Wow.
And then I was like, that comes from something, right? And I figured it out. It's like, okay. Still never watched it before now, but I'm glad I watched it now.
That blows my mind because I did not know there was a Reliant K to Mary Tyler Moore connection. And
You're welcome.
yeah, thank you for
You're
that.
welcome.
Because as a fan of Reliant K in my high school days, this definitely that's
Yeah.
cool. That's news.
They
to
knew
me.
about more than just Thundercats, people.
There's more to 'em. We did a pretty sick cover of Sadie Hawkins Dance back when I was 17 at
Nice.
a show. It was pretty great. It's on YouTube
Pressing
somewhere.
on leads into late Sadie Hawkins Dance.
No
so
way.
like in my head, I hear Mary Tyler Moore between those two songs.
That's awesome. All right. Well, today I learned. That's great. It absolutely confuses me that you guys. So this
Wild,
show's
right?
this show is amazing to me. We put together this cast of characters, and we're all like, classic TV, great. But we all have the wildest, like, different sections of classic TV that we cared about.
The amount of British television from the 70s that I am intimately familiar with is overwhelming.
Right? Like, we've got that, and the appointment television, and like all this stuff that we all just have different segments of this one topic that we care about, because this show was everything when I was a kid. Like, because I'm so...
Stephen, that's because you were a 60-year-old child.
Yeah,
That's
you're
why.
not wrong. Yeah,
We have
absolutely.
established this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the old man. I'm going to tell you, like, right now, I looked it up. So this show, it went into syndication after it finished its run. It ran from 70 to 77 on CBS. It finished its run. It went into syndication. It didn't do that well. It was like 25% of America had this on TV at any given time, which in terms of syndication, pre-cable, it's not a lot. Like, they weren't just rerunning it all over the place. Nick at Night started broadcasting in 1992 when a bright-eyed and bushy-tailed Stephen was 7 years old, getting ready to go to bed at night, and they did the Mary Tyler Moore marathon on Nick at Night, where they just played Mary Tyler Moore for a full week. And I watched the bejesus out of it. I watched like every night. I was watching Mary Tyler Moore till I had to go to sleep. And the theme song lives in my head. The cast of characters who we got to see a handful, but not everybody. So there's plenty of characters, and we'll talk about them that we didn't get to see. But yeah, man, this was right in my space of time where I was watching things. Dick Van Dyke Show led into this. I was already familiar with Mary Tyler Moore, but this is a whole different Mary. This is what they called, I think it occurred during second stage feminism. So there's a lot of, it was an independent woman, not a divorcee, which they played with that plot line initially. They were like, we could make her a divorcee. And they're like, nah, it confuse people. They'll think it's like Mary divorced Rob and, from Dick Van Dyke Show. And they were like, let's just make her, I think the story they gave was she broke her engagement, or the engagement broke off, and now she's independent, living in Minneapolis, Minnesota, a businesswoman doing her own thing. It was rare in the 70s. We weren't gonna see things like that frequently. So this was part of that, and she had her own set of friends that were also single, like Rhoda and Phyllis. We got a little bit of Rhoda in this episode, who was Valerie Harper, so well loved.
Harper.
She's so cool that she got her own show, which I also watched, which was equally great. Rhoda's just wonderful. But anyway, a couple things about the Mary Tyler Moore Show. It won 29 Primetime Emmys during its run. Outstanding Comedy Series 3 years in a row, 75 to 77. That's when it won Outstanding Comedy Series. And that was its 5th, 6th, and 7th seasons. So, like, its last 3 is when it got 3 major Emmys for comedy. Like, shows are usually
that's
like...
impressive.
That's
right?
awesome.
Yeah.
Because somewhere in the middle, you have this bell curve of your show where you peak season 3 through 6 or whatever, midway through your run, and then people start running out of stories to tell, and you start falling off. They won this in their final 3 seasons, which was great. The Writers Guild of America in 2013 ranked it number 6 of its 101 best written television shows of all time. Number 6, if you're curious what the above Mary Tyler Moore was, it went in this order. Number 5 was All in the Family. Number 4, The Twilight Zone. Number 3, number 5, All in the Family, The Twilight Zone, Seinfeld. I missed one in there somewhere. I wrote these notes down, and somewhere there's a missing one because The Sopranos was number 1. Anyway, Never mind all that. What we got is that was the ones that landed above it. So The Sopranos kind of struck me as I've never seen it. It's not classic TV, so we can't cover it. But I guess it was really well written, which makes sense. It's prestige TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it even spun off 3 shows of its own. It spun off Phyllis, it spun off Rhoda, and it spun off a show called Lou Grant, featuring Ed Asner as Lou Grant, who is a treasure. Ed Asner, national treasure. And this show,
absolutely.
The cast of this show, if you look at the IMDb for the Mary Tyler Moore Show, Mary Tyler Moore, Ed Asner, Gavin MacLeod, Captain Steubing, for crying out loud, Valerie Harper, you got Cloris Leachman, John Amos, Betty White, like, good. I couldn't get out, like, Ted Knight was... Ted Knight might have been my favorite thing in this whole episode. I loved Ted Knight. I mean, obviously from my intro, you kind of got that.
Sure.
But like, he was just so good. So good.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. Like, I knew about Ted Knight from this and then saw him in Caddyshack and was like, oh, that's the guy from Mary Tyler Moore. And clearly you see where Anchorman was inspired by. Hugely by this show. I think to the point there's a cat. I think the Anchorman, Ron Burgundy's cat, was named Baxter after Ted Baxter.
The dog,
yeah. And somebody that worked in the news station was named Ed, which was Ed Asner tribute from this show. So like it was all very much Mary Tyler Moore News team level, which I thought was pretty great. So yeah, and we've also got a few other characters that I really loved. Georgette was Ted's wife later in the last 3 or 4 seasons. That was played by Georgia Engel, who I adore. Like, if you get to watch this, she's got this tiny, mousy voice, and she's super duper ditzy and adorable, and you want to put her in your pocket and take her home because she's just the most wonderful addition. And then, of course, Betty White shows up later as Sue Ann Nivens, who has an attraction to Lou and uses double entendres all the time. And it's just...
Which is why when they were casting Golden Girls, she was originally up for Blanche. And she didn't want to wind up in that typecast of being the sex pot. And that's how she wound up as Rose.
Oh, that's amazing.
Which
I knew that part.
is honestly brilliant.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
that's
so
brilliant
good.
because
Typecast is the funniest woman ever.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, she would never have gotten stuck. Betty White had something that nobody else had. And I knew her from this. I didn't know her from Golden Girls. Despite seeing Golden Girls at my grandma's house a lot, I knew her as Sue Ann from the Mary Tyler Moore Show. Again, I'm 7 years old. I'm really impressionable, and this show just went straight into my DNA. In 2007, Time put the Mary Tyler Moore Show on the list of 17 shows that changed TV. Time stated that the series liberated TV for adults of both sexes by being a sophisticated show about grown-ups among other grown-ups having grown-up conversations, which I thought was kind of fun. And the Associated Press was a little meaner. They said it took 20 years of pointless, insipid situation comedy and spun it on its heels by pioneering reality comedy and the establishment of clearly defined and motivated secondary characters.
Brutal.
Yeah, pointless. 20 years of pointless TV. That's a bold claim, Associated Press. I mean, it kind of makes sense. Like, a lot of secondary characters there for its bit parts and jokes and setups and stuff. And this actually gave each character almost a full life that they were living.
To the point where they had so many spinoffs as a result.
Right,
True.
yeah.
Well, and it's the kind of thing, I just talked about this recently with the movie The Hudsucker Proxy, where there's a ton of background characters, and you're like, I want just a whole movie on this character and that character and that character, because they flesh them out and they make the scenes better. So doing that in this show makes those scenes so much better now.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know from Adam anything about the Mary Tyler Moore Show, because while I may have stumbled across a few episodes, I don't have a lot of memory for it. I want to know the story of the guy leaving at the beginning to go write for Walter Cronkite.
Yeah.
Like, I want that.
Oh, Cronky? Yeah.
Yeah. Like, all of that. I want just an entire series based around Ted Knight.
Yeah.
Or Ted Baxter, rather. Like, it's all of that. So that, I love it. I loved all of that stuff. It's just amazing.
It was super duper fun. The last thing I'm going to say, last couple things about the accolades for the show. Tina Fey actually credited the show for how they wrote 30 Rock.
Sure.
Because they said we wanted the show to be about the people, not the work. It was just the people in the work is kind of how it was pitched, and that's what they used Mary Tyler Moore Show as a template for how to do that. Marta Kaufman of Friends said the last episode of Mary Tyler Moore was the gold standard of finales. So they wanted to end Friends the same way Mary Tyler Moore Show ended, with like Friends doing their thing, which I thought was super cool. So like Mary Tyler Moore herself is celebrated all through the entertainment industry for just breaking so many stereotypes and molds of how TV's done because of this. And her production company making more shows that were doing things like this to really open it up, especially opportunities for women to lead television shows for themselves instead of it all being just dude-driven all the time, which was fantastic. So yeah, just a great TV show all around. So I lead with all of the accolades and all of the great things people said because we watched supposedly the worst episode of the Mary Tyler Moore Show.
I'm sure that some people absolutely think this is a terrible episode, and I know exactly who those people are. And those people would be played by Jerry Van Dyke, which was the best part because I didn't look at the IMDb ahead of time, and I'm watching it. And I'm like, that guy is so familiar. That guy, but it was, and then I was like, oh, he is in that he's not, but he is.
Yeah.
I see what we've done there.
he is, but he's not, but he also is. Like,
Yeah.
so he's playing effectively the exact same character he played in Coach. And I don't know if any of you ever watched Coach.
Yeah.
That is
But that is
exactly what I thought of when he came on screen.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my gosh.
My house, we watched a lot of Coach when I was growing up. It was just because it came on. I think it ran right after Roseanne, and so it was like we watched Roseanne, we watched Coach, and so that's what I know Jerry Van Dyke from. And it was a long time before I realized it was Dick Van Dyke's little brother.
See, I just
never
got
made
the
the connection.
I picked up the Van Dyke vibes.
Oh, sure. Absolutely.
And I was like,
but
he's just so familiar. Oh, he's just close.
Yeah,
this is
trademark
me.
Dick Van Dyke is Jerry.
Yeah, it's the me at that age. I didn't pick up on who it was. And then when I got older, I'm like, oh, it makes perfect sense now. He's Dick Van Dyke's little brother. Of course, he's just the slightly rounded off version of Dick Van Dyke.
That's good. That's good.
He's so like, he is very much a Van Dyke. He's very charismatic. He's very likable. He's very like, he is that character. He's perfect for that. But I also get why people didn't like this episode, because as I was watching it, I'm like, through the lens of 2024.
No, you could run this episode today, 100%, and all of us would
you
go.
Could. Sure, you could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wish we didn't have to, but here we are.
Here we are to talk about it.
No.
Yeah, I didn't know what we would be getting for sure. When I turned this episode on, I'm like, I don't know. Let's just go for it. Let's see what we end up with. And I have a feeling different people dislike this show for different reasons. Like, I think there's things in this you see that you're like, I don't like it because of this, and then other people go, I don't like it because of that. And there's a whole different view of who you, like you were saying, Amy. Like, there's certain people that don't like it.
I feel like if there's a lot of people that identify in a way that they go, well, this is just ridiculous.
Yes, exactly.
And then there's the other people that are like, well, this would never happen.
Right.
And then there's the large number of people who have lived this scenario and found the episode very funny.
Yeah, you're like, oh, this is what happens. So it makes me even more excited to talk about it. So the basic premise of this episode is an old flame. I'm going to call it a flame, more like a smolder, ember, maybe some sort of lit object comes into Mary's life, and that is Wes, played by Jerry Van Dyke, who replaces Josh, who you talked about at the beginning of the show, Travis, who is leaving to go work for Walter Cronkite. There's a opening for a writer. Wes has left Chuckles the Clown and is applying for a job to write in the newsroom because he's like, oh, I could work with Mary again. And he really kind of likes Mary If you pick that up pretty quick, it
I
show that
mean,
he's
how could you not though? Quite
yeah.
frankly,
I mean,
Honestly,
he's a treasure.
you're not wrong. But he's an awful close talker when it comes to Mary. He kind of just makes his way into her bubble real fast.
Yeah.
And gets in
by
her
the way,
space.
real quick, because you mentioned like the son of, but seriously, folks. So Wes is a character that appeared in 2 episodes of the Mary Tyler Moore Show, and it was this episode and the episode, but seriously, folks, from the previous season.
Mm-hmm.
So that was where we get that, like you said, it's kind of a continuation or a sequel to that episode.
Yeah.
They brought that character back for this. I'm curious to watch that episode now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of want to see,
Yeah.
but seriously, folks, because I have a feeling Chuckles the Clown is involved in that as well. And once again, I want a show or at least an entire episode just around Chuckles the Clown
Yes.
because he was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, Chuckles was great. Yeah. I want to see it because I want to know how Wes was used in that episode versus this
Right.
one.
I do too.
Yeah.
Like the unrejected Wes versus the has been rejected Wes. I want to see
Uh-huh.
what what that's all about. But yeah, Ted, there was some great comedy in this first opening scene. Ted being all sad that Josh was leaving and then going up and hugging this other kid. It's like, oh, I'm gonna miss you, little guy.
I'm gonna miss you so much.
Yes.
And that's the best, right? He's like, oh yeah, it's your kid goes, Pete. He goes, no, that's not
That's
it.
not it.
Well, because he starts that whole conversation off with like, "You guys are like my family.
Yes,
Yeah.
you're the only family I have.
You're the only family I have, Josh. I'm not Josh. Right? You're Pete. No, that's not it. I'd remember. It'll come to me. Don't worry."
It's so good. Ted Knight has so much just heat in this episode.
Yeah.
Like he is
He
on fire. And Murray is too. Murray has just as many wonderful zingers against Ted. They're kind of like in this show. They are your back and forth one-liner jab kind of comedy. And it's usually Murray
Your
messing with
Statler
Ted.
and Waldorf.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's usually Murray being smarter than Ted, which is no surprise if you picked up on what Ted's all about.
Yeah, no.
He's definitely.
But I
not
loved. But
sharp.
then, like, I loved later on when Murray comes out and the cameras are rolling and he gets in front of the camera and just pauses,
He just
just goes deer in the headlights.
Yep.
It starts like breaks that ridiculous grin of like, I'm just gonna smile at the camera for a second and hand this to him and let's like wave and walk away. I loved that so much because if you've ever done anything in front of a camera, you've met that person.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
You have met a
Jesus.
Murray. Yep. That was so good.
Everything broke right there when he realized, oh, I'm on TV. Shoot. So we get the Wes deal. He's going to start working in the newsroom, and the next scene is Rhoda and Mary having breakfast.
Hang on.
Oh yeah.
So this was my favorite part of that scene, is because Mary's happy to see him, right? I mean,
sure.
like they must have parted on good enough terms, right? And she's like, oh great, and so she's like, oh well, I'm gonna go put in a good word for you. He's like, no, don't you don't have to put in a good word for me. Beg for me.
I love
Oh
that.
boy.
My favorite line was just when he first walked in and he goes right to Mary. I missed you. All of you. Yes. I missed all of you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, and she's like, yeah, we all missed you.
Yeah,
Like,
we
we're
know.
all happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wes was not subtle at
Oh,
all.
No,
At all.
Nope.
that's what I was saying. Where he goes over, he just immediately in her space bubble, just like, bloop.
Mm-hmm.
We
And
missed
she
you,
just got a
everyone.
smile.
Yeah.
Just
Mm.
yeah.
And there was so much about this to me that was cringy for me because I was like, oh, he's in her space and she doesn't like it at all. That was me like this whole episode. That was my perspective of why I thought it was the worst episode. Is I'm sitting there thinking about Mary. I'm empathizing with her, like, oh god, how's she ever gonna get out of this? And this was at a time like cringe comedy. I don't think was really the thing it
No.
is. We weren't at Meet the Parents yet. When you
No.
just you find a way to laugh through the uncomfortable. This was not. We weren't ready. I wasn't ready. So the next scene, we get to Rhoda and Mary are having breakfast because that's what two people who live in the same little complex do in the morning.
Why not?
I mean,
Why not?
yeah, it sounds good. You're by yourself.
And here's the funny thing about this whole scene is when it hit me, and it was amazing that you used that Marta Kaufman quote because it hit me. This felt like Friends.
Yeah.
This felt like it was written, and I'm like, no wonder Marta Kaufman was inspired
Yeah.
and
Right.
had such glowing
Yeah.
things to say about Mary Tyler Moore, that, like, and why it's obviously in the DNA of Friends. Like,
Yeah.
good gosh.
Yeah, because the essence of this show really is all about Mary and Rhoda and Phyllis and the people at work that are all friendly. Like they actually go to work. It's the Friends I don't think we saw
Right.
work that often. But
Yeah.
like,
No,
Yeah,
occasionally
yeah.
Chandler, and that was it. We never knew what he did.
sure, right. It wasn't the point. And that was kind of what this was. The news was just there as a vehicle for all these other
Mhm.
situations to happen with
Yeah.
the people.
Right.
But Mary is consulting Rhoda because she's not sure what to do about Wes because she knows I don't like Wes like Wes likes me, and then there's like she feels guilty that that Wes wants her, she doesn't like him. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
Because she's a good person.
she's a good person.
Right.
She cares. She doesn't want to hurt him.
cares about other people. Right.
Yeah.
Just, yeah.
Right, but then
To a
I
fault.
immediately feel a little bit better because
Mhm.
Wes just shows up unannounced to breakfast and is like, "I'm going to
Nope.
drive you to work."
Yeah.
Like, that's a hard
Absolutely
No.
not.
Lord.
No, that's
Absolutely
a hard
not, son.
no.
Like,
Rhoda was ready to throw down
Yeah,
mhm.
yeah, that was
With the
not
cactus she's
okay.
gonna pick up.
the 40-pound cactus.
Yeah, there's
Right.
I gotta find a 40-pound cactus.
man, yeah. When you
Rhoda's
wrap
so
yourself
good in
into a
this
lie you can't
episode.
get out of, and then they
That was
Mm.
my favorite part of that whole scene is right at the end where she's like, "Where am I going to find my 40-pound cactus?" And then she breaks and like laughs about it
Mhm.
too. Like it's ridiculous. I know this, but that
Oh,
was
yeah.
so good.
When Wes suggested Rhoda can sit on Mary's lap, I was like, "What is
Yeah.
happening? What
Uh-huh.
are we doing?" And Mary's going along with it because this is just stuff that happens.
Okay.
I guess.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I don't know what to do.
Be nice to the poor guy. Let's let him off. Oh wait, let's not let him off at all.
Yeah,
Let's
let me
keep-
I'll just go ride with him to work. It's no big deal. It's no big deal. This is one time.
It's one
you know?
day.
It's one day.
One
Mhm.
I can handle one day of Wes being weird. So we get back in the
Yeah.
newsroom, and Wes is just that coworker that needs to go somewhere else. Like in this
Mhm.
modern age, we'd be like, "You're a sexual harassment thing waiting to happen." You
Yeah.
know?
Sex fest.
Right?
Yeah,
For
this
sure.
is
No, it's-
gonna be a problem.
It's happening right there
Yeah.
in front of all of us. We
Yeah.
see it, and we're just
Yeah.
like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I get it being a little weirder for some of the, or a little maybe less obvious that that's what's going on from some of the other people, even outside of what when this was, right? And that like they did apparently have some sort of relationship at some point, even if it was just a
Yeah.
date. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
you're
sure.
like, oh yeah, all right,
they rode into work together, you know.
yeah,
Mhm.
sure.
Mary
Okay.
hasn't told him off in front of everybody,
No,
you know, 'cause she's not
she should though.
going to.
Rhoda
but
would.
she should. She definitely should.
Rhoda would have.
Wes is trying to get Mary to go to lunch with him, you know, naming all these different places because whatever's going to
Oh
work.
my
will
God.
Get her to lunch.
That was every relationship meal discussion that's ever been had. It was so good. Okay, well, what if I? Yeah, no, whatever you want's great. Okay, well, what if I narrow it down to 3?
Mhm.
And she's just trying to work.
Yeah.
She's trying to proofread
Yeah.
of all things, right?
Oh
Like,
gosh.
like that is like a you gotta
Uh,
concentrate.
When he walked up to pass the thing from Murray sitting literally next to her.
Oh my
That
god.
broke me. I was like, come on.
And then just stood there waiting. Like,
Yeah.
did you need me to
Yeah,
prove
the-
something for you? And he's like, oh no, I was just stretching my legs.
Just my legs. Oh god, he's
it
the
was
worst.
it
It's
was
Ugh.
rough. It was rough.
I wrote
When that happened, I was like,
insufferable several
oh.
times.
That's
Yes.
what we're doing with this episode. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I see
But
where
that's
this
what
is
made it so good.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So Wes, being a new writer, he needs to get instructions from Ted on what Ted expects. And I love this joke
Yes.
about Ted. Ted said, "Don't hand
Yeah.
me any copy that has weird countries or names that are impossible to pronounce." Okay. Murray handed me something about Ethiopia and the guy from Ethiopia, and I couldn't even pronounce the name he did say, but he was like, nobody cares about Ethiopia.
It comes and that comes back, and it's so good.
Yes.
Oh, it's so good.
It is
No,
the best setup.
that was very nearly going to be my my intro. Was my Ted Knight, Dateline Djibouti, and then come up with some.
Oh, it's so great.
The look over. We're not there yet, but when he does say Djibouti, and then he does the look over.
Jakarta.
Jakarta
Jakarta is the one in the
That's what it was.
episode.
Jakarta.
Yeah.
And he just does the look over, and Mary gives him a nod.
You can do this. One of my favorite parts of this whole thing is when Chuckles comes into the room and he's dressed out in his entire clown gear, which props to Audie for drawing Travis as Chuckles the Clown in our art this week.
Yes.
It was so good. It was so good.
I was trying to think of like somebody's gonna be. Oh, I know who's gonna be Chuckles.
And then we get
fair.
Ed Asner's just best bit this whole dang show is he just walks out of his office and yells, "No clowns in the newsroom," and it was just made me so happy. Because Lou's presented from early on as like this gruff news editor, and they kind of softened him up as the series went on, where he's still serious, he still means business, but he's a good boss. And that's kind of how that worked. I'm sorry, I think I cut you off, Audie.
No. I was just gonna say, like, the thing with Lou is the economy of humor. Like, he's not in the episode a ton, and in fact, at one point I was like, "Is Ed Asner even in this episode?" And then he showed up, but he crushes it the second he's on screen, or in one instance when he's not on screen.
Yeah,
it's even funnier.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's wonderful. He never stops being wonderful in this whole series, and it's one of the reasons. Like every time I saw Ed Asner was still alive doing something, I always got excited because I'm like, it's Lou Grant. He's still doing things.
Yeah,
it was just awesome. So Chuckles comes to Wes. This is kind of where we learn a little bit about Wes and why he's good at clown comedy. Is Chuckles' new writers are not getting him out of this situation where he's been swallowed by a giant gherkin.
Sure.
On the show, because why not? And Wes has to help him figure out, has to help Chuckles figure out how to get out of the situation, and comes up with this joke about eating his way out. He doesn't really give Chuckles that; he just kind of alludes to it, and then finally has to spell it out for him, which I thought was interesting. Like you're just gonna have a sandwich in there, and you need to eat your way out.
It would go well with this.
Yeah, and Chuckles like, what? So Chuckles is just a face. It's kind of like Ted reads the news. Chuckles just reads the comedy.
Yeah.
It's clearly he doesn't have the chops to do it himself.
Yeah.
And I
there's a part where I forget who it is calls him a clown. He goes, "Who are you calling a clown?" He just goes, "Well, if the shoe fit."
Oh, it was Ted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ted said that.
Ted says that to him. I loved that. That was so good. If the shoe fits, as he's looking down at his giant clown shoes. Oh.
Yeah,
And then whoever it was it Murray explaining to Ted what's going on with it? And he's like, yeah, so apparently Chuckles is in a pickle. And Ted's just like, oh, yeah, I've been there, done that.
yeah. Ted just brushes it off. Oh, yeah. Because Ted, I don't know why Ted and Chuckles seem to have it out at the doorway. I can't remember if there was some sort of heat between them, but they have an argument at the door, picking on each other a little bit. And Chuckles tells him that the Chuckles the Clown Show had a 17 in ratings, and 6 O'Clock News had a 6. And Ted throws out one of the best things I've heard, or I heard in this episode, which was about Murray, because he throws out like, you know what I've done for all these people? Murray was a wino on Skid Row begging for quarters. Murray's like, what is he talking about?
Just at desk, just
the best part of that is then Murray paying it off by getting up and saying, "Well, I'm going to lunch. Hey Wes, you got a quarter so I can get whatever." Name some random liquor. Oh, it was so good.
It was really great. Had a bunch of fun with that. Wes, so Mary's gone. I think she wandered off for some reason. Her phone rings. This is another massive encroachment by Wes. Picks up Mary's phone.
Absolutely not.
Oh yeah, it just cancels her lunch date with I think it was Jim.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Just says, "Oh, I happen to know she's going on to lunch with me. Sorry about your
Yeah.
luck." And then, like, I think I got most livid because he's just all nonchalant about it. Like, oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
this
Like,
guy
oh, yeah.
called. He was gonna go to lunch, but I told him you were going with me. You know, and she's like, "Oh, but Mary, being Mary, just rolls with it." Like,
So there was a part before this with Murray at one point. I forget exactly when it was, but it was with the gum.
that was
And
after
she's
this.
oh, was it after this? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, this was. We're coming up to that though.
All right.
Don't
Because
worry.
that was all right.
We're getting there because I think that's the next day.
Right,
And
right.
she wants him to go
That's
to. He
right.
wants her to go to dinner or something, and and that's when Murray tells her she's a pushover.
Yeah.
And this, I just fell in love with Mary Tyler Moore all over again.
Aw.
This is her moment to shine in this episode because she has to pretend to be angry with Murray for asking for
Yeah.
gum, and she's
You're
so
not
livid.
getting any.
He's like a sugar-free cherry, your favorite. You're not getting any.
I'm not giving you any, and then she hands
Like,
it over.
just
right over.
just a beat and hands it to him.
Yeah,
The best part of that whole thing.
I just
So
love her.
good.
I love
I
her.
felt that so deep in my soul. Like I was like, oh no.
It's so great because like on the Dick Van Dyke Show, she was so sweet and timid as Laura Petrie in that show because she was meant to be like supporting, but she played just as, I mean, we watched the Walnut episode. She could dance with everybody.
Oh,
She
yeah.
was great.
Oh yeah.
And then she goes into this and like if they would have made her any like a tough like news lady from the city, it wouldn't have worked so well as it works with her
Yeah.
continuing to just be a sweetheart because it's all over her countenance.
Yeah.
You know, like I know in
Yeah.
the business, kind of like Lucille Ball was, like in the business, she knows what she's doing and she's tough and she gets things done. But like her character and her persona on TV was always this kind, sweet, meek person
Yeah.
because that's what she's built like. You believe it when you see her do these kinds of things. So her faking that angry just made me so happy.
So
I was like,
funny.
she's just crushing it. So there's another great scene when Wes is pitching an idea, which is going to lead us to the conclusion. Of the episode.
Oh my gosh.
And he does what people with anxiety do. He walks in, he's like, I need to bounce this off somebody, but I don't want you to tell me if you like it, because if you don't like it, I
Tell
can't
me you don't
walk
like
in.
it. It's
Mhm.
Yeah,
gonna
it's-
crush my confidence.
It's gonna crush me. I can't tell Lou about it, but I need to tell somebody before I tell Lou, so I've practiced. And Mary keeps the most stoic face you've ever seen.
It's like
and I
no
would've-
expression. He's like, don't make
Yeah.
any expression.
Yeah, don't.
That's
Okay.
one of those where
Don't
like
do
I
that.
want to see the outtakes. Like how
Yeah.
I do
much how many
too.
times did it take to get this?
Oh
Because
yeah.
you know Jerry Van Dyke got her to break
Oh yeah.
at
Oh, yeah.
least once.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, for sure. And he's pitching her this deal where he's like, we're gonna use the newsroom as like a natural set where we're gonna do the news from in here. It's great, and she's just sitting there stone faced, and it was hurting me because as someone who has had to do presentations and pitches and stuff to a room full of a video conference full of
Yeah.
faces where you can't hear anything, and there's
Mhm.
no like
Mm.
3 people have a camera on and they're doing something else. You're like,
Yeah.
everyone hates me. And they hate this, and they want me to stop talking and go away. But you got to push through because there's 49 other people with their cameras off, and you're like, all right, one of those people is probably nodding. You know, You have to- that's like the new everyone's in their underwear for public speaking. It's like just imagine they're
Yep.
smiling,
Mhm.
because that's really all you got. It sucks. This world is so weird. But she's doing that, and I'm hurting because I can't imagine having to pitch to somebody who's not doing anything. And then he's convinced she thinks it's terrible because if it had been actually good, she wouldn't have been able to hold her face that straight that long. She's like,
Right.
I don't know
Right.
what you want from me. You know,
She cannot win at all.
no,
At
she
no
can't
point
win.
can she win.
Mm-mm.
No, Wes is crushing her. So he goes in to talk with Lou. He said, Mary hated it. You probably won't even care. You know, he's downplaying
Mhm.
everything. He pitches the idea about doing a live tape news show kind of deal. Mary went out to dinner with him
Because they celebrated. Because
Yeah.
Lou
Yeah.
liked it.
Yeah, I mean, that's great and all, but Wes is way, like, you need a night off, right? Like,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is too much
Yeah.
Wes. this is when they meet. They come back home from dinner and they're standing in Mary's doorway. Which I don't remember seeing Mary's hallway a lot, but if you ever see the outside of the apartment she lives in, it's really like a house where she's living in
Sure.
some separate units, like her and Rhoda.
Yeah.
I don't know what the layout of this house is like, but it's wild.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
the Winchester house in there. It's absolutely crazy. But barring that, they're having a conversation about what's going on, Wes and Mary, and Wes really likes Mary, and Rhoda is just
The best. This is
gosh.
so good.
the best.
Oh my god, I
Just
cackled.
announcing herself from downstairs, coming in and immediately hearing their conversation, and it's just like, okay, I'm coming up the
Coming
stairs
upstairs.
because I need to go to my apartment,
Yeah.
just in case anybody needs to know.
I mean,
I'm
how
pretty sure
many-
I could hear Amy laughing during that when I was watching this.
It's so good.
And then she forgot her groceries. Okay, I'm
coming
going back down the stairs.
I
It
forgot my
was-
groceries in the car.
It was so good because it's your friend that really doesn't want to get in your business at the moment. Like they know you're doing a thing. They're like, I don't want to hear anything that's going on right now. So I'm just gonna let you know.
But also, if you were to give me the sign,
yes,
Right?
yeah, true. I will save you. Go ahead. Tell me what you need. This is why I love
pat
Mary
your
and
head
Rhoda so much. They're just the best. So Rhoda gets out of there. And then Wes, for some reason, like a big dum-dum, decides
God.
now's a great time to ask Mary to marry him. Now, kids,
Lord.
I recommend, prior to popping the question, you discuss popping the question well before this ever happens. That way, you
Yes.
pretty much guaranteed a yes, unless there's been a
Be-
wild change of heart.
Before you cement your relationship into law, let's make sure you have a relationship.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead.
At all.
Yeah. I don't
Mhm.
know what it was like in 1974, but just, if you're taking tips from Wes,
I mean,
this was
to be
wrong.
fair, 1974 was the first year women could have credit card without a male cosigner.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah.
Thanks for that nugget.
Yeah.
Boy, we've come a long way, haven't we?
We seem to be looping back around, but
We've come away.
Away.
I don't know how
We
long
have
of a way we've
walked.
come.
I
but
put the blinker on to turn right back around.
Let's call it a roller coaster, shall
Yeah,
we?
there
'Cause
we go.
Yeah.
Better
We've had some
analogy.
ups and we've got some downs.
Yeah, and they tend to go back to where they started eventually. We'll see how well we can, we'll just keep fighting, So
I don't know.
this is
Someone's
when
got dynamite at the end of that one. rail
Snidely
crossing.
Whiplash is setting it up right now.
Uh-huh.
So Wes becomes just the saddest panda you've ever seen. He's just Eeyore at the times 10. After Mary says that's
Mhm.
not gonna happen. It's not a good idea. So Wes,
But at least she calls him out on it.
sure,
Yeah.
She's like, no, you only asked so that you could be miserable when I said no.
yeah,
Mhm.
he's one of
I
those
did
guys.
like that.
That was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, mean Mary, she's not really mean. She just tells him like
not
it is.
mean.
He needs the story. He needs
She's
to know
fed
we
up.
see it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We see you, Wes. We know what you're doing. Because he was having a great time. I think he's allergic to good times. He's just not sure how to handle it. There are people like this everywhere. Just can't,
Mhm.
don't know how to be happy. So I gotta get rid of
Yeah.
it as quick as I can. It's weird, bothers them. So then we get to the next day when they're gonna do this live shoot, which it's a terrible idea in my opinion. I don't know. I'm just a lowly podcaster, but you got a bunch of people milling about who don't go on
Yeah.
TV routinely with phones that ring. Nobody thought to disconnect those before you went on a live broadcast. It's just
Well,
mass chaos.
It's also funny, like they were talking about this whole concept, and it's funny on this side of it when I'm used to so many cable news channels just having the workroom in the background.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Mhm.
the new concept.
My
Interesting to be a new
when
concept.
when my parents worked at the TV station, my dad was on the news one night, like fixing something under the desk, and it was next to the sports guy who's like talking, like he's like picking up tools and being like, I don't know what any of it. It's just like this much of my dad's
Local
local news, man.
news is the
Real
best.
good.
They, I
It is
remember
the
them
second
having.
best to local sports broadcasting.
Oh wow.
Local
Okay,
sports,
fair.
like your local sports color guy,
Mm-hmm.
the top tier.
I will say though, they had a local show here, and they had a pet segment, and one of the episodes they had cats, right? Because it was
Mhm.
cats that were adoptable from the Humane Society,
Sure.
and in the middle of it, the cat just gets up and squats and just
Sure.
pushes one out right there on the guy on air, just poops right on the
Nice.
dude.
Oh my god.
And like,
cat?
what do you do at that point?
I
Yeah,
know.
it was the
Well, I
most
mean, if you're
random.
like
Like,
a shelter cat
Oh,
and
yeah, maybe
you're
just-
new and you're
Yeah.
scared, and this is
Mhm.
weird.
Yeah, I might.
They
do the
don't
same
like
thing
when
in
you
that
screw up
position.
their routines at
Yeah.
all.
So, cats are fussy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's thanks for that, Travis. That's a beautiful visual. Cat
There you
turds
go.
on those were the days. Didn't expect
Just
that.
think about cat poop.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
You're welcome.
So Wes comes into the newsroom, obviously been drinking. We don't say that. I don't know what the
No.
rules were for drinking on. I mean, Lucy was the tipsy with the Vitamita Vegemin, so it's
Yeah.
drunkenism.
Well,
Well,
Lou says like he's loaded or something.
Oh,
like that.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what he says. So yeah, so
They
he
just
comes-
say it once, but yeah, he's definitely very
love-
obviously.
I love Wes's interaction with Ted though, because he's just pouring his stuff casually, and Ted walks over. Wes, this is gonna be great. And he says, "Well, it's never gonna work." And Ted goes, "What? Lou, Wes just said it's never gonna work." He's like, oh no, it's fine. It's
Oh,
gonna work.
no.
It's gonna be great.
It's just-
Then Lou goes over to Wes. He says, "Why is this not gonna
Why
work?"
isn't it gonna work?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just not gonna work. No,
Nothing
Nothing in my life ever
Nothing
does.
in my life
Yeah.
ever
Why
works.
should this?
Oh,
And it's
gosh.
like,
I
oh,
know this
Wes.
person.
I do
I
too.
just,
Mhm.
it's just
Met them, gotten texts from them, and been like,
I
Listen,
sure
at one
have.
point in my life, I was this person. Okay.
"Glad you're recovered, Travis."
Thankfully, I'm no longer that person. So,
Everybody has an Eeyore stage. I had this probably in my
Sure.
teens.
Mhm.
It's fine. It's fine. We get better. We
Yeah.
make progress.
Just gotta
Um,
deal with the poo.
Oh yeah. So Wes goes back and takes his seat. He really wants to talk to Mary during this live broadcast, real
my
bad, and
gosh.
it's just awkward as it can be.
Like it can't be that long. Come on, come on, man. Like,
Yeah,
you can
just-
wait.
Just relax.
Oh,
But
however,
logic
you've
is
got to
not what he's doing.
factor. Right, you have to factor in drunk brain. Right.
that's true. That's true.
Like,
That's true. That's true.
Mhm.
We gotta fix
He's-
this right now.
Yes.
Right now, we gotta fix it.
Yeah, Ted's over there doing the news. We're over here, even though over here is literally 2 feet away. Like,
Yeah.
Right
Yeah.
behind him on
Yeah.
camera.
and before they go live, you could hear the audio guy say, "We're picking up all that, Wes." Picking up, so that Wes
Yeah.
goes, so like the audience can hear him.
Yeah.
There's one moment that I was like, "Oh gosh, sexist news coming at you," because Ted walks over to Mary, and says, "Ah, Mary Richards, she does writing for the
Best
show. We call her the
legs
Miss
of
Legs
local
of
news.
the newsroom
Best
or
legs of
whatever."
local news.
I'm like, "Oh, Ted,
Ted.
you can't see him because she's sitting down."
Oh,
And she's just like,
Not to mention, they're about to kick your head off.
yeah, here we are.
Yeah, here we are. Welcome to 1974.
Mhm.
That's what it was. Then we get the great Lou from the other room. With
Well, we get the before that starts, we get the payoff of the Ecuador of the
Ethiopia.
Ethiopia.
Yeah.
Oh,
Because
okay.
the top news story, like when they hand him like before they start and they hand him the pile, and the top of the pile is a story about an earthquake in Ethiopia, and he's like, "What is this? I can't do that. What is that? Is that guy's name in it?" Well, yeah, and he just crumples it up. He's like, "We have a minute of video on this."
Yeah.
It's like nobody cares about Ethiopia anyway.
Nobody cares about Ethiopia.
No,
Brutal.
Oh,
Fine. So
Absolutely brutal.
Ted's taking you on a tour of the newsroom. We get over to Lou Grant. They're like, "Lou,
Mhm.
come out and say something." Lou just goes, "No."
No,
I lost it there.
From inside
It was
the
so
room.
good.
it was
I don't
great.
want to.
So good.
Till Ted tells him he's not going away, and Lou finally comes out and does this like weird, awkward nod wave, like
Mhm.
he's like,
And then
"Ah,
just
yeah,
disappears back to his office. Oh, it's
yeah, like he should.
fantastic.
He does not want to
Yeah.
be on TV.
Uh-uh.
Wes ends up calling Mary on the
Oh my
phone, which was
gosh.
just absolutely terrible.
Which they're like, oh, let's take this call live.
Yeah, and Mary's like, no. And it's just
Mhm.
Wes. Murray comes over with a Bolton for Mr. Baxter.
Yeah.
Bolton, Mr. Baxter. And Murray does the greatest like turn and walk away deal I've ever seen.
Mhm.
Ted gets that Bolton, and then Wes has been back there writing a letter to Mary. You can't
Wait,
talk
wait,
to her
wait,
on the
wait,
phone.
wait.
Okay, yeah.
This is the one that killed me when Ted gets that. And he's like, you get the news when we get the news. And then he sets it down and doesn't
Yes.
address it at all. And Mary's like, what are you doing?
Mary's got to give him the look of like, pick that up, talk to him.
And
It
then
was
that was
so
the
good.
story.
The whole
That was
point.
the Jakarta story,
That was the
right?
Jakarta.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Jakarta?
He looks at Mary with the side eye.
Jakarta?
And then we get our Ron Burgundy moment here. When
So Ron Burgundy
yeah.
will read anything on a teleprompter.
all I could think
Yep.
about. Wes
Yep.
tries to hand Mary his letter he's been writing in the background because he can't call and he can't talk to her. And Ted thinks it's another Bolton. So Ted just reads the paper. Look, I'm sorry. I know I've made some mistakes. I want you to know I still care about you and I hope we can still be friends. It just goes on. Like it was an
Yeah.
actual news story.
More on that as it develops.
And then it's
Yeah.
like they cut, and Ted goes. He turns into like a little kid who's just super excited. Even news voice has been on for the past 2 or
Yep.
3
Yeah.
minutes, and all of a
Mhm.
sudden he goes, "Hey, I think we're doing pretty good."
I
Everybody's like,
No, no, it's
adored,
not.
but I adored that about Ted. Like
Oh yeah,
Ted's
it was
got
Oh,
really
yeah.
good.
Ted has his news anchor voice, and as soon as
got
that's
his
not going
news
on,
anchor
Yeah,
voice
I think that's
on.
doing pretty good, right?
I was going to say, he's got his voice on, he's got his brain off entirely.
Oh,
yep,
yeah.
Yeah.
completely.
Well,
I know
Engine's
how that
running
works.
and nobody's behind the wheel.
No,
Mhm.
no.
Isn't that how
no.
news anchors work, though? Like I heard Justin
Yeah.
Robert Young say at one point that news people are just people whose light bounces off their head in a pleasing manner, and they can say words.
I mean, largely, and it's also about reading. Like,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
reading is it's a whole thing. Like being able to cold read
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
is
yeah.
a skill. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty good at it.
Mhm.
It's how I get through doing most of my recording. If I'm honest, I do
Yeah.
a lot of cold reading in a very specific voice and cadence, and so it's the same thing.
If you want more of that, tune into Ake Willow, your favorite little
Season
cozy horror
7
podcast.
starting May 9th.
Get on it. I think my
yeah.
mom listened to your show. She was very excited. She liked it a lot.
Oh,
So go do that. And it was like the show. They finished the whole deal, and they finally put everything down. And Ted thinks it went really great.
Yeah.
And Lou's like, no, it did not. Just like,
No.
oh no, it definitely didn't. Like,
No, it didn't.
it
no.
did. It didn't go well. And this is where I love Lou, and everybody should want a boss like Lou, because he goes up to Wes, and Wes is like, "Oh, it's terrible." He's like, "You know what? We tried something. It didn't work. I like the idea too, but I like how you said I like the idea too, but I wouldn't have liked it if you didn't bring it to me." So it's like he's supportive though. He's like, we tried it, it failed. We move on. We do something new. That's good boss stuff.
Yeah.
You know, he could have let Wes have it because it went real bad because of Wes. 'Cause he was
Yeah.
drunk in the background making a mess of things.
Right. Otherwise, it probably would have been okay.
It wouldn't have been
Mhm.
great,
But then
it would
No, it would have been
okay.
great,
then
but it would have been
also-
better.
Yeah,
When Wes is like, I'll probably just go back to writing for Chuckles, and
yeah,
Lou is like, yeah, all right,
yeah,
sure,
yeah,
and just
yeah.
kind of pats him on the back and walks
Right.
away. Like that's probably the best thing.
But that's also good boss stuff because Wes isn't
Yeah,
gonna.
that's true.
He's not gonna make it in the newsroom. Lou knows that. Send him back
Yeah.
where he can use his actual skills to do an actual good job that he can manage. You know, that takes good boss stuff to recognize too. When you got somebody, you're like, look, you're not gonna fly here. We need to get you somewhere where you can. So I like that a lot. And then we get through it. Mary, for some godforsaken reason, goes to dinner with him. So Wes is like, hey, we should go get a dinner. We should go get dinner. More sympathy for Wes After
All right,
all
ready
of this.
though? All right.
Yeah, please give me the other pitch.
All right. So she's a single woman
Yeah.
paying for her own way at a job at local news. You know what? You can't always look a gift horse in the mouth. Sometimes you got to be like, yeah, you know what? The pasta primavera is pretty good tonight. I guess we're just going to go with it.
Yeah.
We're just
But
gonna go with it.
I also
Sometimes you
love the
just gotta-
dialogue of that. Like, she's like, let's have dinner. And he's just like, because you feel sorry for me. And she's like, well,
Well,
yes.
Yeah,
It's like,
just
good enough for me.
But I like first she talks about let's go out and get a dinner.
Mhm.
we missed part. We missed part in the hallway. Because after he leaves all sad, Rhoda's like, hey, do you mind if I go get him on the rebound?
so good.
My God, I loved Rhoda in this whole episode. She
Oh, yeah.
was
Like,
Yeah.
so good the whole time.
Rhoda
unbelievable
is a
stuff.
treasure.
Unbelievable stuff.
So we've been through a lot of Mary Tyler Moore. It's been a little bit of a longer show than normal. But I guess what I'm interested in now, first from you guys, is this a objectively bad episode of television?
Absolutely.
no.
not.
No. Okay.
If this
No.
is the worst of the Mary Tyler Moore show, holy hell, I need to watch some more Mary Tyler Moore show.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. I understood because I have seen every episode of this show multiple times. I know
Yeah.
what it is. This probably is the less less good episode. But I find that I was mostly annoyed with Wes so much the whole time that it made it cringy for me. So it was hard for me
cackled.
to enjoy it.
I just cackled.
Talking to you guys about it, like every show I talk to you guys about, it's infinitely better just because we had this big conversation about it. I'm like, oh yeah, that was pretty good. Oh yeah, that part was funny. So we bring it to life in a different way in the recap. Which, if you listened out there in listener land, if you watched the show and you thought, it's kind of cringy or I didn't really like it, I hope this brought some new perspective to it. It wasn't rated like a 4 in IMDb. I think it was a 6 point
no,
something.
6.4. Yeah.
It's hard on these when you're doing the worst of the best. They're the best for a reason. So their worst is going to be hard to find a worst that drops below 5. I think.
Yeah.
That's a trick that's going to be hard to catch. But maybe we can. And maybe we will. In just a second, I'll get to that part. But first of all, Mary Tyler Moore Show, I'm assuming everybody would watch more. Seems like you guys had a good time.
Like, I know we talk about it. Like, I know, like, we say a lot, like, oh, yeah, no, I'm going to sit down. It's on Hulu. I'm going to hit season 1, episode 1. I'm going to hit play. And this is my life for the next foreseeable amount of time. This was the best thing I've ever seen.
Oh,
so
wow.
It was
That's
so
great. You're going to have your own marathon.
It's just so good for,
Yeah.
like, I don't know if it's just hitting, like, for where I am in a headspace at the moment, but I was like, this is exactly what I need.
Oh, that's great. What
It's-
about you, Travis?
Oh, it's real good. No, this is going into a rotation of like I got a project to work on. I need something to watch while I'm doing that. Mary Tyler Moore is hitting that for
Nice.
sure.
That's wonderful. Adi, how about you?
Yeah, I'll try to squeeze them in. I definitely want to go back and watch, but seriously, folks, and see how this started.
Yes.
Yeah.
Watch
Yes.
Because, like, and I think it's funny. We talked about Wonder Years last week being bad only because so much of the cast wasn't there.
Mm-hmm.
And
I think
nothing
this
really
is
like, it didn't really
right.
happen.
Yeah.
And that's probably where some of the dislike of this episode is like all those people you named at the beginning talking about the cast of this show who weren't in this episode and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, I would like to watch some more for sure.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Awesome. Well, I had a blast. It made me want to go back and rewatch Mary Tyler Moore again because I'd forgotten how good it was. Because I'd been so focused on like older stuff because I am a 60-year-old man. But like I need to get back into some 1970s. And at some points, Mary's interior of her house is very green and brown and orange, and you get some understanding of those colors. They're really popping. Back. Let's just use the colors on the same side of the color wheel. See what happens. You know, I've had enough of opposites. Let's try Everything in the Brown family. Let's go.
Yeah.
But so that's it for Mary Tyler Moore. That was wonderful. I'm so glad that you guys enjoyed the worst episode of this show. And to continue our worst of the best, Amy will be bringing us a show next 2 weeks from now.
2 weeks.
Because we're taking a break on next Monday. Amy, what are we gonna watch?
Okay, so we've had 2 new shows, and we've had 2, like one okay episode and one objectively great episode. All right, so I'm gonna bring us a show that we have already watched an episode from. And I have a feeling that this episode is so bad that it actually, in fact, kind of swings back around to being phenomenal. I will tell you that the director of this particular episode had T-shirts made saying "I survived," name of episode, because everyone involved absolutely hated it. So I'm very excited to bring this to the table. With the whopping rating of 5.9 on IMDb for this episode. We're going back to the X-Files, kids.
Oh, wow.
Season 3, which is apparently a pitfall season for a lot of shows. Season 3, episode 18. I don't know how to pronounce this. Teso dos Bichos? I don't know.
All right.
But it's oh boy, guys, I'm so excited. It's real good. And it's a Boston episode.
Oh, man.
Double whammy.
I picked it before I knew that, and then I was like, well.
The New England
just
Count
got
will be
more
on the
happening.
board, everybody.
Get it up there.
Mhm.
So good.
That's awesome.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh, the X-Files. All right, we're heading
Yep,
back in.
we're heading
Wow.
back.
It's
Only
gonna be good.
is yeah, brace
Of
yourselves.
all the shows to go back to,
Brace yourselves.
All the shows with potential bad. This could
Of
go
a show to
any
go
way.
wrong.
Yeah, this could go really wrong in really great ways. I'm very
Yeah.
excited about it. All right, sweet. You heard it here. Season 3, episode 18 of the X-Files. So get on that. Where can we watch that? Is that streamed on Prime? Hulu?
That is on Hulu.
On Hulu. We're sticking with Hulu.
Sticking with Hulu.
Yep.
This theme. I didn't get any email feedback. Did anybody get anything in the socials?
No.
I didn't see anything in
Not
the
this
socials.
time.
No.
Clearly, everyone else is not a 60-year-old man who has enjoyed Mary Tyler Moore growing up. That's fine. Hey, but if you do have something that you want to send to us, I know we have a handful more listeners that are pulling in the podcast and joined us in Discord. If you want to tell us what you thought of this show or upcoming X-Files episode or X-Files in general, you can hit us up at thosewerethedayshow@gmail.com or tweet at us over there on the Twitter at thosedayshow. You can also join us in our Discord where we talk about a bunch of stuff. There's a whole lot of channels in the Two Dorks Discord over there at twodorks.net /Discord. Also, I want to thank huge shout out to Bo who joined us on Patreon last week. That was
Yay.
awesome. We don't normally promote the Patreon, and he found it anyway, which is fantastic. That always helps us out in little ways. You can help us out there if you go to twodorks.net/support. You can get to our Patreon page easily, and that will get you what you need. But thank you everybody for joining us this week. Looking forward to talking to you again. So until next time, you're gonna make it after all. We'll see you guys later. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.